having a platform for SEO to work is extremely important. I was told by my colleagues that I have to tell you that Apple's site works because Apple is Apple, and everyone already knows who Apple is. One-page websites are really, really bad for SEO, and Apple's website where it's all pictures and no text is also really bad for SEO because Google has no idea what Apple's website's about, but it works because everyone else knows who Apple is. SEM, so search engine marketing, has similar needs to SEO. Basically, SEM is pay-per-click marketing. So every time someone clicks on an ad, you pay for that click, anywhere from 6 cents to $50, depending on the industry and the competition. So a well-optimized website and a well-designed website is going to help stretch your budgets, and it's also going to help increase your punching power in terms of competing with the people in that space. I realize now that I should have put this slide before that last slide, so I apologize for that. What is SEO? SEO is on-site optimizations that basically encourage Google to show your website higher and more often in SERPs, which are search engine result page, or search engine result pages. So when you search for something like shoes online or buy shoes online, and you get all of those organic listings, all those text listings with the blue text and the black descriptions, that's going to be an organic result. Anything that doesn't say ad next to it is an organic result. So why is this important? It's one of the main ways we can drive traffic. Google accounts for something like 92% of the market share in terms of search engines. So having a presence on Google is extremely important, especially for small businesses where not a lot of people know their names. What does SEO entail? SEO entails everything from adjusting the content on the website, so text on the website, adjusting images as needed, giving it alt text on the images, optimizing your title tags and meta descriptions, which are, I'm hoping a few of you are familiar with those, or everyone's familiar with those. Basically just, if you can see my cursor here, right here, that's your title tag. The first thing you see in your meta description is right here. So just another way to tell Google what you do and what your page is about. There's also a few other things like backlinks, structured data, stuff like that, all very advanced SEO stuff that I'm not going to get into, but very important for ranking on Google. At the end of the day, we are here, or SEO is here to appease Googlebot. Googlebot is Google's crawler. It's a spider that goes through your website and reads the content and determines what your page is about and if it's high quality. If Googlebot decides that your page is not high quality, you're not ranking for anything. You're not showing anywhere. So SEO is a huge game of chess trying to tell Google that, yes, I am the authority on this topic. Please show my listing as high as possible, preferably page 1, because the old saying goes, the best place to hide a dead body is page 2 of Google. SEM, on the other hand, is Google's #1 revenue generator. There was a point in time where Google was down for, I think, 10 minutes, and they lost something like $10 billion from paid search revenue. It's pretty crazy how much money Google makes off of paid search. Like I said before, those creepy ads that follow you across the internet, that's going to be paid search. So you click on one ad once, and you see it every time you go anywhere across the internet. That's our job. The thing with paid search is each click costs money. So most clicks between 0 and, sorry, let's actually pull the chat up. Where was I? Yeah, basically anywhere between 6 cents, 5 cents to 50, 60, 70. I've seen up to $300 cost per click. So definitely a game of numbers and a game of conserving your budget, which is why website development with respect to SEM and SEO is so important. We create the ads, so I write the ads and determine what's going to show. Google decides who to show it to. So by using their immense amount of data and their very creepy levels of machine learning, they can decide this person's likely to convert because of the signals they've shown us from their past searches. You'll notice a similarity between SEO and SEM. It's quality over quantity. If you ever hear anyone talk about SEO, a lot of the times they'll mention traffic and amount of traffic. As my colleague puts it, in a very not PG-13 way, is forget traffic, get money. I can drive 1,000 users to your site. Doesn't matter if none of them buy anything. My job is to make people money. So if I'm not making them money, it's not working. You can see on the right side there under SEM, that's what a paid search ad looks like. You've seen them a million times. They look exactly like the organic listing, just with ad next to it, like little tiny ad next to it, so that you can recognize that it's an ad. So SEM and SEO working together. One of the reasons that I specialize in SEO and SEM is because they work so well together. Think about if you search for something like shoes online and the first result is a paid search ad and it says something like, thousands of shoes online, buy today, and the website is shoesdirect.com or something like that. If the next listing you see is an organic listing for shoesdirect.com, you're immediately thinking that person's the authority on shoes online, right? So having your client's website show up as much as possible is going to be paramount in terms of gaining trust for your client and your website. At the end of the day, everyone's going to work for a client. We're always going to have clients. It's what makes both of our industries work, both graphic design and website development and digital marketing. Clients are what makes the world go round. So if we're not making the money, if their website isn't working, or if their digital marketing isn't working, then something's going wrong. We need to fix it, right? Excuse me. So what's the point? Why would you want to bother with working with digital marketers or creating a website with digital marketing in mind? Like I said before, Google accounts for 92.62% of search engine market share. So Bing ads, DuckDuckGo, everything else like that, that's only 7.4% of the market. Google handles 5.4 billion searches per day. That's a lot of searches per day and a lot of chances to get money from people for your client. One of the reasons that digital marketing is so interesting to me personally is the measurability of it. So I can see every single click that's happened. I can see every search term people use to reach our ads, and I can see everything that happens once you're on a website. Super creepy, but super good information to have. It's also really cost effective because I can see how much or what's happening on the website and what's happening with our keywords and our ads. I can make decisions to minimize those costs while still keeping the performance and the conversions. So conversion is just like someone filling out a form or buying something or giving you a phone call, something that's deemed valuable. Another reason is you can reach far more people than before. Everyone's so ingrained on the internet, especially these days, and especially during this time, that you're going to reach a ton of people, thousands upon upwards of millions of people, just for a few keywords and a few targets, a few audiences. So reaching those people is something that you couldn't do before digital marketing became huge. As I said before, digital marketing's goal is to bring in as many leads as possible by driving the right users to the site so that we can make more money for our clients. And that's my, 30-second spiel. That felt like really fast, but 15-second spiel. So I open the floor up to questions, or I can talk more about my industry, how COVID's affected my industry, GIT plus my industry. But if anyone has questions, feel free to ask, either unmute yourself or ask in chat.
Yeah, my favorite takeaway so far is your best place to hide a body is the second page of Google, and it's true, right? How many ads will you, or how many links will you scroll through before you hit your top link? I'm going to say 3 to 5.
Yep. I think I've been to the bottom of the first page of Google once in the past 3 years.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't think about that. They don't think about how little they use Google. When you go on Google, there's hundreds of pages of results and you never go past the first one. So there's a weird stigma in digital marketing where digital marketers and web devs don't get along, because web devs want to make stuff pretty and they want to make stuff look good to the user, which fair enough, so do I. But we also have to play Google's game here. We have to appease Google and give Google what it wants, which in a perfect world, according to Google, SEO wouldn't exist. It would just be a playground of wild chaos. But SEO is almost gaming the system to a degree. So working with digital marketers is really, really important, especially to your client's success, because if they're not going to show up on the first page of Google, they're never going to get found.
Yeah. So we talk a lot about SEO in our class in terms of SEO really being accessibility.
Hmm.
Um, and the way that this is working out is really accessibility for Google, but it's accessibility to non-visual users as well, if it's
Hmm.
done right. Yeah.
Yep.
So talk a little bit about how that has changed over time, because at first, back in my day, that was for Ashley. Back in my day, you had AOL keywords and you had to find that keywords. And so the meta tags, exactly. Who just put that in there? Yeah, Angela, I've heard a couple of things about meta tags. Search engines using keywords within content aren't as relevant anymore. That's exactly what I was about to say.
Yep.
Um, is that was what keywords were made for. That meta tag was literally for
Mhm.
keywords, and now that's almost irrelevant. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, so there's still a lot of debate about this. The most important thing you can do for SEO is title tags. That blue link that appears at the top of the search, their title tag, the title of your page, having that be keyword rich and well targeted is going to be the most important thing for SEO. It's the first thing Google reads, and it's the first impression Google has on your site. It's the hardest thing to make a good first impression twice. Um, so telling Google what your site, what your page is about right from the get-go will set Google up to be, okay, this page is about blank. The rest of the content should support that. And then therefore you should be able to rank a little bit higher. Meta descriptions, I wouldn't say are irrelevant anymore, but they're definitely not as powerful as they used to be. I treat meta descriptions more as a sales pitch at this point. So they're still keywords. They're still, um, it's still relevant to the page, but it also has a really, really strong call to action. Again, internet users are really lazy, and we really have to tell them what we need to do over and over and over. So if I want you to call my client's web or call my client's phone number, it's somewhere in that meta description going to be call now, so a user knows once they hit that website, they're supposed to make a phone call. Um,
Excellent. So what I'm hearing you saying, that's echoed in all your classes here, is that it's the tags first, right?
mhm,
Having good
yeah,
title tag and a good H1 and an H1 that's within a header and the
yeah,
articles that are within the header.
yeah.
That's your first line of defense, is having a good, well structured, semantic tagged website. Love
Every
that.
digital marketer you work with will love you to death if you have a well-structured website. Um, Ideally, there should, it would all be perfect. In a perfect world now, we would have cross training, but the real situation is you're going to have to work with digital marketers at some point, and I'm trying to get rid of the stigma that web devs and digital marketers never get along. So every digital marketer will love you if you have a well structured website.
as it should be.
Yeah.
Yeah, so great question, Angela. That is absolutely, meta tags are and keywords are still important. You should still do that, but they aren't everything, and they used to kind of
Hmm.
be everything. But they were kind of abused by digital marketers. Ethics is always a big part of what you do, no matter what it is you do. But they used to kind of go in there and put like every state. So say you had a local
Hmm.
business, maybe a local food truck, a waffle love or something like that. And instead of, just putting Arizona, I realize there are more than Arizona, but let's just say they were local, to say Mesa, Arizona, or, they would go in and list every single state so that if someone typed in food truck, no matter what, they were going to pop up, right? Because they were in every state. So like Nevada
Yeah.
food truck, it would pop up, and it's not at all what people were looking for. So it was deceptive practices and being unethical that makes those not helpful. All right, Jake
Yeah.
has a question. He wants to know, how can someone increase their website being found on a Google search? So the first one was with some nice semantic good tags.
Yep. And just to circle back, I'll get to Jake's question in just a second. Just to circle back, you said accessibility. That's also really important. Google is hyper focused on user experience. While it seems crazy to us that no one would use Google and Google has the ability to die off, if their user experience sucks, then yeah, no one's going to use Google anymore. So user experience and content on site is also extremely important. Content's, I think, second compared to title tags in terms of ranking factors. So I just want to get that in there as well. Accessibility and relevance are extremely important. So you can't just make a page that has the title tag of Land Rover dealership and then your content's about a food truck or something like that. Like Google's like, no, I'm not about that. I'm not going to show that. Jake, to answer your first question, how can someone increase their website being found on Google search? The first thing's title tags. You're going to have to focus on your title tags, well-targeted, relevant, and then your content's going to have to back that up. So everything that page is talking about should relate somehow to your title tag. Basically, your title tag defines the direction your page is, and everything else should fall in line behind that title tag. And then how does paying Google to have your website appear first work? Oh boy, that's a rabbit hole. Paid search works in a way of we target keywords. So I tell Google Ads, or what used to be Google AdWords, I want to target any keyword that contains foundation repair. And then every time someone searches any type of phrase containing foundation repair, our ad has a chance to show for that. Everything's handled in real-time auctions. So the second you hit enter on your foundation repair search, an auction's happening between hundreds of different auctioneer participants, and they're all bidding to see who can show in the position. So if my bid's good enough, my ad quality is high enough, and I'm relevant and Google likes my ad, there's a chance we can show first. And it's going to always be rotating. So I'm never going to show first 100% of the time. It's impossible. I've tried for a very long time to get my ads to show number one position, and it's going to rotate them around to see which one works best. So at the end of the day, showing first is super difficult, especially for paying. For organic, which you're not paying for, that's a bit more complicated because you're sort of crawling your way up. You're continuing to remind Google that you're relevant and that your page is relevant to that search. And the more users interact with your site in a positive manner, so the more they convert, the more they click on your website listing, that shows Google and reinforces that trust that Google has with your site. So hopefully that answered your question. If it didn't, let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. So Angela has another question. She said she'd like to check her HTML code in HTML outliner. Is it necessary to add hidden tags or titles for the websites in the navigation bar, or is that irrelevant to SEO? So some background on that is that we use a tool called HTML outliner that basically outlines the DOM. And so if there's a section and that title is untitled, it could be a missing opportunity for SEO.
Yeah, so your nav is going to be one of the most impactful pieces of your website. It does what we call interlinking, so linking between pages on your website. Basically, that tells Google, like, this is a well-structured website, and we're linking to ourselves. You share some of that our page authority around. So having hidden titles, I tend to stray away from anything hidden. Having hidden stuff can tell Google that you're trying to hide stuff from it, and Google doesn't like when you try to hide stuff. But your navigation bar is extremely important. Having a well-structured, well laid out, easy to follow navigation bar is super important.
Yeah, so to clarify, I think, so something like the navigation, the nav tag is adding a chunk to the DOM, and it says, and so it has to be named. So if they don't name it, if they don't give an H2 that says main navigation, then it shows up as sort of untitled in a search of the DOM. So giving it that titled H2, but then using the CSS to use visibility, it's not visibility hide, I don't know, visibility and then hide or whatever it is, rather than display none.
It's a good question. I might have to get back to you on that one. As far as I'm aware, that shouldn't affect SEO. Yeah. Really the main things in SEO are the titles of your pages for on-page stuff and the content on those pages. Yeah. I'm going to sound like a broken record player after a while talking about title tags and content, but that's really what the main game's about.
Totally. Yeah, so I'll if you use hidden and or hidden or display in none, sorry, there we go. Display in none, that means the search engine can't actually see it when it goes through, the bot goes through, it can't see it at all. When you use visibility as your property, then it sees it just fine. SEO can see it, and your non-visual users can see it, but your visual users don't see it. So on a navigation, you put that chunk on the DOM, you got to name it, but then you can hide it from visual viewers, but you're really just making it invisible. So like The difference between display and visibility is that like the invisible man is still standing here, right? You can't see him, but he's still taking up that space. And so if you go like that, you're going to hit into them. But if they display none, they're gone. They're not there. No one can see. They're not there anymore.
Right.
So
And there's a good
display
chance that,
none
I'm
can't
sorry,
be
go ahead.
seen by us. I'm sorry, just it's a video conference fun.
Yeah.
The display hides it from everyone, including SEO. Visibility just makes it invisible to the visible user.
Yeah, that's my understanding of it. There's a chance Google can still see it. They'll probably just ignore it though. If you tell
Yeah.
Google that you don't want it to read something, it's like, okay, cool. I'm not going to waste my time with that. That's fine. It's when you try to like hide stuff underneath other stuff. It's like you're obviously trying to hide something from Google. That's when you get into issues with it penalizing you. But if you say, Google, don't worry about that, don't need to care about that, that's just for our sake, Google's typically pretty cool with that.
Like comments for for
yeah,
example, HTML comments or CSS
yeah,
comments.
exactly. Yeah. Google's like, okay, cool, I see it, don't care about it, gonna move on from there. So
excellent. Jake has another question. Is dealing with Google the same with dealing as Bing or other search engines?
For the most part, yeah. It's really funny to watch Bing evolve. So back in the day, there was Google AdWords and there was Bing Ads. And Google AdWords changed to Google Ads, and then Bing Ads changed to Microsoft Ads. And then Microsoft Ads copied Google Ads' interface, and then Microsoft Ads copied everything Google Ads did. So Microsoft is like the little brother of Google Ads, where it's like, I want to be just like my big brother when I grow up. So dealing with Bing Ads or Bing and other search engines on the organic side, it's pretty similar. They use about the same bot, the same crawler, same spider, whatever you want to call it. On the paid search side, it's also pretty much the same.
Excellent. We're getting some really great questions in the chat. I would love to hear more of them. I could obviously chat about this all day. Good times.
Yeah. And while people are, saying.
So Angela says, you said Google changes their algorithm patterns. Absolutely. What do you do to combat this or keep up with it?
The first step is to cry, because it usually tanks your rankings. It depends. It depends on if the algorithm shift affected your industry. There was an algorithm shift last year that affected only the medical industry, and we saw medical people take off. Like there was, like some people took off, some people tanked. It just depends. Google publishes when their algorithm updates. And then from there, you just have to make a decision like, is this going to affect me? And then keep a really close eye on your analytics and see what needs to be changed if it does. Unfortunately, a lot of the stuff in this industry, the answer to a lot of questions is it depends. I also do training for social SEO, so training the new hires, and every time they ask a question, it's just it depends. So
That's
it
my
depends on your
signature
industry.
phrase, actually.
Yeah, I've thought about coining it and making a shirt out of it, because
It
I'm
is.
so tired of saying it depends.
It depends.
But
Ashley has a question. Oh, go ahead.
for the most part, Google's pretty transparent about what algorithm changes are happening and who it's going to affect. So you can tend to keep an eye on it and see, okay, this is a medical industry thing. I sell shoes. I don't care about this algorithm update, but still a good idea to keep an eye on your analytics.
So that's kind of my follow-up question to this is
I think you
the
might be muted, Christina.
The algorithm is proprietary. They don't share with you what it is. They just share with you the effect it might have.
I can't hear anyone.
Awesome. Anyone else having trouble hearing?
I did see that Isabel put a comment in there. Going back to something you said, I think you said the web crawler looks for the quality of the page. What does that mean? Or what determines the page's quality for search engines? So quality, I'm just talking about how relevant your content is to your title tags. So when I say quality, I'm just referring to how much you're reinforcing what your page is supposed to be about. Okay, it looks like everyone can hear, but me. I might have to switch headphones in a second here to not run out of battery. So quality of the page is, is it what it says it's about? Does the title tag match the content? The content being the text on the page. You can do image optimization, which does add a bit of content to images, but for the most part, Google loves text, loves words. It's really good at understanding words, not so great at understanding pictures. Whenever you answer that, like that grid of like for reCAPTCHA, that grid of pictures, you're basically just teaching Google what it is to be like, what is a stoplight? You're telling Google what a stoplight is. So you're teaching Google how to recognize stoplights. So the point of that story was that Google is really bad at recognizing pictures, really good at recognizing text. So let me switch headphones real quick so I can actually hear everybody. Give me 1 second. This look kind of doofy for a bit, but no, well.
Hey, no worries. I've got my headphones in. They're hidden by my hair, though. Essentials for online life. Gaming headphones, nice. All right, Ashley has a question.
Can't hear.
Ashley, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
You can do the ones in the text first if you can't hear. It's fine. And because mine is more about development and marketing teams.
Okay.
Christina, I don't know if I can hear anybody talking right now. I may have to jump out and jump back in.
Okay. Here, I'm going to...
Let me try turning it off and on again. Let's see if that works.
Cool. In the meantime, you guys have some great questions. These are exactly what you should be asking, and you're getting some stellar answers. We'll go ahead and answer Valeria's question next with what kind of tools for analytics, and then we have another one from Isabel, and then we have one from Ashley. Go ahead and put those in the chat if you can, as you're going to, so we can make sure that we get to everybody.
There we go.
Is that better?
I can hear everybody now.
Turn it off and on again? Good.
Yep, works every time.
Really does.
Let me pull the chat back up. I lost the last few questions. Do you want to just read them off for me?
Yeah, not a problem. So our next question is, what kind of tools will you use for analytics when you're just getting started?
Yeah, so Google offers a full suite of tools, being Google Search Console, which basically tells you what's happening off-site. Basically helps you track the search engine, so how you're performing in SERPs, which is search engine result pages. And there's Google Analytics, which is the on-page stuff. That's where you can see time on page, bounce rate, which is how often users come onto your site and then leave without doing anything else, pages per session, conversion rate or goal completion rate, which again is like you define this form submission is valuable. So therefore I want to track that as like whenever someone submits a form, that's a goal completion. So those are the two main tools on the organic side. Organic and paid search share Google Analytics. And then on the paid search side, you have Google Ads, which has a ton of metrics and a ton of information, like your cost per click, your actual cost per click, how much Google estimates going to cost you to get to the first page, the top of the page, conversion rate, cost per conversion. So if I have a client who's adamant about having a $150 cost per conversion, and that's it. If it goes above that, we're done. We need to fix it. So I can see, our cost per conversion is around $100. So we're sitting pretty right now, but it's a good thing to keep an eye on. So there's a few different tools. They're all free except for Google Ads because you have to pay to actually get any information from that. But Analytics and Search Console are both free.
Yeah, excellent. So if you all are interested in diving into Google Analytics, GIT 402-502, which is New Media Internet Technologies, we actually dive into analytics, and we take a look at one of the classes from LinkedIn Learning about Google Analytics. So how to get up and running with that and what things you should track, because there are so many things to track. You want to kind of key into just your goals.
Yeah, the way I put it, like if I, thank you for saying KPI. I've never heard anyone else outside of digital marketing say that. The way I put it is like, if I was a business owner and my digital marketing person was like, hey, your guy, we had an average time on site of 15 minutes. Like, okay, but how many form submissions did we get? Why do I care that they spent 15 minutes on my site?
Exactly.
Or like, we increased traffic by 30%. It's like, okay, how many more form submissions did we get though? Like,
yeah,
that's why my colleague says, forget traffic, get money. I could send a bajillion users to your site and it doesn't matter if none of them convert. So
exactly. Awesome. So our next question is from Angela. She says, for example, in Instagram, if your followers aren't liking your posts or commenting, the algorithm thinks you aren't interested in So in web development, does it tie back to your tags, or there are additional software applications that help with SEO?
Yeah, so there's a few answers to that. So basically, that's a really good analogy for it. If you're not liking pictures on Instagram, Instagram doesn't think they're good pictures or doesn't think they're good posts. It's the same thing with Google. If I search for, my foundation repair company and they come up first and I don't click their link, Google's like, okay, you didn't want to see that. I won't show it as often now. And it's, little incremental things, but after a while, Google recognizes no one wants to see this listing. I'm going to push them down the page. So we have a huge problem in digital marketing where clients will search for themselves to see how far they're ranking on the page, how high they are. And they're actually doing damage to themselves by searching for themselves, because you're telling Google by not clicking and not converting that no one cares about that listing, or that you don't want to see that listing. That's why one of the biggest struggles I have is like, hey, please stop searching for yourself and just trust the metrics that I'm giving you. Other tools for helping with ranking, Google Search Console and Analytics, the two main ones. Those really, like, if you had to pick two tools to use, those are the two. There are other ones. There's stuff like Lucky Orange, which basically tracks your mouse movements across the page. Super, super creepy, but really cool to see how users interact with your website. Like I said, I've had a client they have so many words on their page. Like, their pages are about as long as my master's thesis. And they would just scroll up and down the page 7 times, look at the call now button, and then just leave. Like, they didn't want anything to do with that website because there's too much text. So it is a fine balance between giving Google enough text to understand what you're talking about and overloading the user with text. Because if you go onto a web page and it's just a wall of text and all you can see is text, I'm not going to read that. I got way too much stuff to do to read 13 paragraphs about whatever they're talking about. So Lucky Orange is really creepy, but very cool.
So Ashley says, couldn't you just do the opposite and actually click through? So if your goal is to get form clicks, couldn't you, or likes or shares or something, couldn't you just complete that task?
Yes, with an asterisk. At least in the SEO site, Google's probably going to recognize that your IP and your cookie are continually clicking on your own listing. And they're like, okay, this guy's just clicking to click. Google can recognize that as click farming or anything like that, and it could be detrimental. It's also a matter of, did this person complete a goal? So if I go to your website and I click on, cool, look around, nothing's interesting me, I leave, Google realizes that isn't a good quality listing for that search either. So it's this weird multi-stage approach to SEO that makes it so unique in terms of work that no two clients are the same. So basically, you can, but there's a chance you'll be a detriment to your own success.
Right, that, and you're not actually reaching your goal, is that you actually want that money to come in. So
exactly. Yeah.
So it doesn't help. What about like bots? How does bots play into it?
I hate bots so much. There's a lot of spam traffic on Google. We try to minimize as much as possible, but you will have spam traffic. Usually you'll see their bounce rates at 100%. They'll go to the website for 0.00 seconds and then leave immediately. They're literally just there to scan the page. I have to smile for a second. They'll come onto the page, they'll jump off, and then that's it. And you just got that click for nothing. We hope that Google recognizes that those are bots and doesn't penalize us for us. I don't believe they do, but there's a chance that they might. My reasoning behind that is Google refunds you on Google Ads for irrelevant clicks or bot clicks. So if I get a click from a bot and it cost me $15, Google's going to refund that money to me because it recognized that was a bot click and you didn't really actually pay for that.
All right, everybody, if you have your video on, go ahead and smile. Jake's going to put this on the interwebs.
Oh, that I'm stopping the video. I thought you already got it.
I've been doing so many video conferences this week that I'm just used to seeing my own face.
I'm so over it. Yeah, I can definitely. Yeah, with the earphones and noise canceling, I can actually hear like every internal noise that I make, and it's horrifying.
Yeah.
Jake, did you get what you wanted there? You can unmute yourself, dude.
Yeah, I got one picture, but let me get one more.
Let's get us all like.
Yes.
Very scholarly.
Yes.
Oh, look at everyone showing up. Okay, everyone. Very thoughtful and
Yes, I shall save these.
Not if you're on the toilet. I saw that lady today. Did you see that toilet one? Oh my God.
Oh gosh. I've
That's
seen a
my,
few. It's pretty crazy.
it's not okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also have clothes on, friends.
Yeah.
I have a question about
Awesome.
Google.
Thank you so much, Jake. So the next question was, can we do similar analytics with Facebook, which is more preferable, Google or Facebook? So Facebook has its own kind of insights as its analytics. What does Google, or does Google provide anything else?
Google Analytics is the one-stop shop for everything. Two different beasts there in terms of marketing, one being social media marketing, one being SEO. But at the end of the day, they have pretty similar analytics platforms. Google Analytics, in my understanding, is about the same as Facebook Analytics. Facebook Analytics is a bit more full suite because it does paid Facebook ads and organic Facebook ads. So there's like an organic and a paid side to social media, which is kind of crazy. So basically just take Google ads and Google Analytics and put them together. Nope, that activated my Google Assistant. So my Google Homes are going crazy. Yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Two different animals, but still very similar in terms of the metrics you can get from the platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think this is a new job hazard of remote. Siri always thinks I'm talking to her, or I have
Yeah.
Google Home also, and Google Home is always like, "What now?
What do you want? You wanted to do what?" So
What?
yeah,
No,
happens
shut
all the
up.
time.
Yeah, absolutely. These are some
Actually,
really great questions and great insights.
yeah.
Love the conversation that's having here. Anyone else? Angela, Google is a pretty big platform. Are there other platforms that you work with for SEO for people who prefer search with Yahoo or Bing?
Google Analytics encompasses all of that. It'll tell you which source they came from, so I can see if someone came from Bing. However, not a lot of people search on Bing. It's usually an older demographic, because when you first get a new computer, the only thing that's on that computer is Microsoft Edge, and the default web browser or default Google or search engine for Microsoft Edge is Bing. Only after, tech savvy people come by, like, oh, you should use Google instead, do they switch them over to Google. So it's typically an older demographic. So it can be good for some things. Like I have my foundation repair client on Bing because everyone needs foundation repairs. I had a hearing aid client and I put them on Bing right away. It's just a matter of choosing for the industry. But again, Google does encompass 92% of the market share. Like that's a lot of people searching on Google. So hopefully that answered your question. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It always comes back to the audience, which is back to the answer of it depends.
Yep.
It really depends on, but if you're going for a general audience, 92% is a good return.
Yeah. It's good to focus your efforts on that 92% instead of focusing on the 92% plus the 6% from Bing plus the 3 or 2% from DuckDuckGo or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's picking your battles and not spreading yourself too thin.
So what can Google do with DuckDuckGo, as you just mentioned?
What can they do in terms of advertising or analytics?
Because I thought the whole point was that it was locked down and.
Yeah, I think I can see when people come from DuckDuckGo, but I can't see what they do or who they are. Like I can't see any demographic information. I can't see anything like that. I can just see like this user came from DuckDuckGo. Like great, cool, awesome.
Do you see that being a big, is that a factor? How big is that audience coming from a DuckDuckGo?
It's not huge, not big enough to be worried about. As we move forward, I think we're going to see a lot more push for privacy and a lot more push for user privacy. I think a lot of people get up in arms about it, but then don't do a whole lot about it. I'm one of those people who are like, they already have my information. I might as well just make it easy for you, and then it benefits my life. So I just give Google whatever it wants at this point. Like I accept our new Google overlords. But there's definitely going to be a push for privacy, and we can see that in some of the web browsers like Firefox supposedly does cookie blocking by default. DuckDuckGo blocks your cookies by default. I would see that being a bigger movement as we move forward, but I think the convenience of Google, people love to hate on paid search ads. Like, I hate seeing the same ad pop up 17,000 times. At the end of the day, it's pretty relevant to what you're looking for because you have been to that website before, you did click on that ad before. People love to hate it, but people still buy off those ads. So, while it is true that paid search can be kind of annoying, it should never get there. It should be capped at a certain point. I think people like the convenience of like, oh, I can add this to a shopping cart just by clicking this ad and they'll get back to it in 3 days or something like that. I do that all the time. I did that on Instagram last week. I was like, I want to buy this. And I just clicked the ad, got added to a remarketing list. And then 2 days later, they showed me another ad. And I was like, okay, cool. I'll buy it now.
Yeah. So you bring up a good point. And also email marketing, super annoying. I know you weren't talking about that, but I think we feel this, it's sort of in the same thing is like, I don't need 10 emails from Old Navy every day, but it is actually effective as most people have an email address. More people have an email address than or subscribe to a social network or use a social search engine.
Yeah.
But ethics is one of the things that you started talking about here. And we certainly talked about that a little earlier. And so there is this balance between this trade-off between privacy and functionality. And certainly we see that in devices like Google Home and Alexa, and but also in our searches and our search engines. And so often we'll be talking about something in a conversation, and the next time I open Instagram, there's an ad for that thing that I've never Googled, I've never looked online for, and all of a sudden it's there. And on the one hand, it's really helpful, and on the other hand, it's Black Mirror.
Yeah. That's one of the biggest things for me is being ethical about marketing. There are some people who are super chill with just being as creepy as possible when they're marketing. More power to them. I try to be as ethical as I can be. So, using that tool, Lucky Orange, I talked about earlier, using that with discretion and not, it doesn't tell you any of the information you type in. It just tells me that you did type somewhere. So a lot of tools are trying to be as ethical as possible. In the world we live in, there is that trade for convenience versus privacy. If you want to be 100% private and off the grid, you don't get any of the convenience. You're going to hit with a bunch of random ads that you don't want to see. On the other end of the spectrum, like that I'm on, I get a bunch of really well-tailored ads that I know that I want to see and that are relevant to me because I give Google all that information because, like, whatever, they already have it, right? So I like I said, I think it's going to be a huge talking point for marketing come, a few years from now, and everyone's like, okay, I'm tired of seeing the same ad 17,000 times. I need to stop tracking me. So it is a dual-sided coin. There's two edges to that sword.
Sure. So you just mentioned one of the things you see kind of for the future of SEO and SEM is privacy and privacy concerns. Any other sort of future kind of insights, what might be coming up next, the big trends in SEO, SEM?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it's going to be video content. That's already becoming big. Video content's huge. Google loves video because it can be images and text. You can still put subtitles on your videos, and then Google can learn what that video is about. Voice search is going to be huge. It already is huge, and it's going to get bigger. And then, having that natural language. So being able to write like a person would talk. Your content on your website shouldn't be like a robot wrote it. It shouldn't be keyword stuff. You shouldn't just throw a bunch of keywords in there and be like, okay, cool, I put as many keywords as I could on the page. We've already seen that move from Google where they moved away from that and into, we need this to be a good user experience. So the overarching goal for Google is user experience and providing the best user experience possible, but voice search, video, visual content is, I think, the next big thing down the line.
Awesome. Angela has another question. What would Google SERP SERP features look like?
Yeah, so I'm guessing you're talking about like the structured snippets, the rich content, like the answer your question in the box. Yeah, that's going to be controlled with a mixture of content and structured data. Structured data being JSON LD code, so JSON LD. I call it JSON Aldine. It's just a series of code that basically tells Google what the site's about. It's just another way of telling Google what the site's about. And that controls if you're eligible to show up in rich search function. It also helps control map ads or map placements as well. So what it would look like, I actually have a slide here. Let me pull up my screen again. So this right here, these are rich snippets. So these are, features of, these are SERP features basically, showing you what different links. So this link is going to be the asu.edu homepage, and this one's going to be the online page, your My ASU page, your academic page, just different pages that you might be interested in that Google didn't capture that first time. Same thing on the paid search side. You have different links that you can go to that isn't this link necessarily. And then
Awesome.
if I can jump in with like how GIT and digital marketing, how GIT prepared me for digital marketing, pay attention to your communication. A thing I see a lot of is people with communication styles that aren't fit for professional workplaces. So practice your cadence, practice your vocabulary, practice everything like that. That's really the biggest thing. Like learning how to talk to people is one of the biggest things that I learned from GIT, and just being, in that sort of multicultural, multi-personality space. And then also the skills I learned in GIT not only helped me get a job with ASU, but also helped me communicate better with my creative director at Social SEO. So when he talks about video or about photo, I'm like, oh yeah, I know about that. So, and I can talk to web devs too, because I've learned a little bit about web dev from GIT. So while like photography or video might not be your focus area, it's definitely a good thing to know, because being able to communicate with that person makes it so much easier. Think about when you're having a conversation and you're talking about something you're super passionate about, and the other person's just like a brick wall and they don't care. You don't want to talk about that thing anymore because it's not enjoyable for you. Whereas if the other person's like, oh yeah, I know about that. Like, what about that thing? And then like you go on this huge tangent. It's way more enjoyable to talk to someone who knows what you're talking about. So just pay attention and just know like the vocabulary, and that'll send you miles. And again, it's half what you know and half who you know. And if people like you, they're more likely to do business with you. So half of my job is making people like me. So it's depending on how you see it, an unfortunate or fortunate truth of the world. So just learning how to interact with people from all different disciplines is really important, especially for website development, because you are working with so many different people.
Absolutely. So Angela has another question. So in ASU's case, would we see the biggest interest is, or the update, or do they update which ones show up with those rich snippets? So is that controlled by Google, or is that controlled by ASU?
That's controlled by Google. ASU can encourage Google to show what it wants, but we're playing Google's game, and Google's the referee and the head coach. Like SEO people try to fool themselves into thinking we have a lot of control. We're at the mercy of Google a lot of the time. So this was determined because of my recent searches or my search history. And then, Google also wanted to gather more information. Like, where would I go if I searched? Because I just searched Arizona State University. So if I just searched Arizona State University, would I be more likely to go to this link or one of these links? So Google's simultaneously trying to provide the best user experience and also gather more information about that search.
That's really interesting. When did you pull this screenshot for ASU?
2 hours ago.
Yeah, so ASU Online being the first and top one, that makes a complete sense in today. It's very relevant that people would be looking for ASU Online.
Yep.
Woohoo for
definitely.
ASU. We really are the leader in this, to be honest. Like we were fully digital for a long time. Just the fact that we use a learning management system like Canvas, the fact that we already were using Zoom, that we're already Slack and it's integrated into our classes. Mm-hmm. We've had a very, very much easier time transitioning into this remote world than other universities that are not as tech savvy. So
yeah,
woohoo for ASU is right.
It's been way easier.
Well, I work for Ed Plus, and I know that their SEO is, I'm in more of the development design side, but we work very closely with them. And I know that is that another thing also in searching for companies to work for and in interviews? Like, I think that only makes it a better company, right? And a better product if they're all working together.
Yeah.
Do you see this being a trend of it becoming more of a close knit and it not being so hate towards those different groups?
Or
Yeah, and you're talking about
siloed.
digital marketing versus web dev versus graphics,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to see it be more collaborative. And I think it is getting there. I think a lot of web devs and digital marketers are realizing that this relationship doesn't work. So that's my goal, is to make it as easy as possible for the web dev I'm working with to make changes, and for them to make it as easy as possible for me to make the changes I need to make. You can see how beneficial it is when everyone's working together on the same page, because they'll rank number one almost every time. Like I have no doubt that a person with web dev, digital marketing, and everything like that all under one roof, or all under one team, are working together and they like each other, would be easily one of the best.
As a designer, I feel like we're like the middle people almost.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because you're working in two different realms, right? Like, you're working with digital marketers who are pulling your arm to like make this size, the website loads faster so Google likes it more, and then put this alt text on it so Google likes it more. And they have the web devs who are pushing for it to be pretty and a good user experience and make it look nice. And then those don't always line up. So it is kind of in the middle of these two really different worlds that are sort of bridged by user experience and graphics.
But they should be, right? I mean, if the goal of the entity is clear, then all of those departments should be on the same page.
Yep.
So it could be a red flag, really.
Yeah.
And a great interview question, Ashley. It's really how integrated are the departments or the units or whatever.
Yeah.
Great questions.
Definitely.
Well, we are out of time. Thank you so much for joining us today. You can use the clap in participation. You can click the clap button, and thank you so much. This is really helpful. We have recorded it. Anna is clapping, so is Kara. Angela, awesome. This was super helpful and helps reinforce certainly how things are out on the industry. Something that GIT is super on top of, making sure that what we're doing is relevant. What we're teaching you has something to do. Oh, all claps. It's a standing ovation in the participants bar. Thank you so much, students, for tuning in today. If you were here for extra credit, the attendance is recorded automatically by Zoom, so it'll be issued in that way. Kahn, thank you so much. Have an amazing day. Stay healthy.
Yeah, hopefully everyone stays healthy. I put my contact information on the screen if anyone needs anything or has any questions further. You can reach out to me there. But yeah, thank you all for coming, and thanks for the great questions. Really good experience.